Saeed Amidi is the founder, president, and CEO of Plug and Play Tech Center. Plug and Play is the premier technology startup accelerator in the world with over 200 companies which collectively have raised an excess of 700 million. He co-founded Amidzad in 2000. He is a founding general partner of Amidzad Partners. He's the founder of American Liquid Packaging System. He is a serial entrepreneur and seasoned executive with over 28 years of experience in founding, operating, and growing successful companies. He co-founded the Amidi Group in 1980. For the past 23 years, he has chaired and spearheaded the operation and management of a number of Amidi Group entities. Saeed's recent passion is inspiring and helping entrepreneurs and startups out of universities. In this respect, he's working closely with MIT, Cornell, Harvard, Stanford, Berkeley, Santa Clara, Wharton, and Dartmouth to identify great entrepreneurs with a passion to execute on their ideas. Saeed is an active member of the technology community and a frequent contributor to numerous charitable foundations.
Today in Plug and Play, we help 300 startups per year. We specifically invest in 150 of them in US, and we do 50 more investments in Europe, mostly in Berlin and Spain. And all of our startups have the same question: how do you organize a team? How do you get your initial seed round? And then how do you go after the seed round to the venture capital community for the A round and B round? But I thought I will kind of go back and forth to the early days that I started, because I think it would put some context in how we have built Plug and Play till today. So a lot of people say, how do you become an entrepreneur? Are you born entrepreneur? Let's say everybody in Iran says if you're in a Bazari family, you automatically have a جنس entrepreneurship داری. و من واقعا I really learned business from my father. We grew up in a family full of, we have nothing else we talked about other than business at dinner table. So then in 1979, I was living a very luxurious life. I was living on Sand Hill Road in a townhouse near the golf course. I had maid service. I had the most spoiled kid you ever seen in your life. And suddenly I had a wake-up call. My mother showed up, my father showed up. I thought it's really the townhouse was mine, but I realized it is theirs. And they really ruined my style. So a few weeks went by. I can really give a lot of credit to my father, Amir Amidi. Within 2 weeks, he sat me down and he said, اون ممه رو لولو برد، لولو رو ممه رو چیه همچین چیزا میگن. ولی at that time I used to have an allowance of $2,000 a month. Wow. In 1979. Quite spoiled, you could tell. So he sat me down, and this is when I'm 19 and a half, and he told me, Saeed, I'm gonna pay your tuition, you have a roof over your house, you have food, but for your pocket money, you better think of something. And I thought he was joking. I was not planning to work till I was 30 years old. So it took me 2-3 days to sort of absorb what he said. And then I went to my mom and I said, he's joking, huh? And my mom said, no, this is pretty serious. We had a little revolution in Iran and it's reality. So I'm telling you where I got my seed money. So then he told me, Saeed, if you help me, he was doing little real estate. We had a medallion rug. We had some rugs we brought over. We thought we were going to get rid of them in 10 days and he would use the money to do other businesses. And then when we visited all the rug shops in California, nobody would buy a rug from us. They all wanted it on consignment.
Wow.
And so finally we said we had a lot of rugs because it was easier to bring rugs out than money because of the devaluation of Tuman. So if you could bring jewelry out or rugs out, the exchange rate would be much better. So finally we tried to store these rugs, and it was hard to get insurance for these rugs. And at University Avenue in Palo Alto, half of the stores were boarded up. Downtown Palo Alto, we had a Greyhound bus station there. It was really run down. So we actually rented a store and we covered the front of it with paper and we used it as a storage till we sell the rugs. And then after about a month or two, we said, maybe we should take the paper off and somebody may come in and buy a rug. That's how we got into the retail rug business. But during the same summer that I was helping my father, I realized that I have to start a business if I want to keep the standard of living that I have. So I rented 400 square feet office. And my father was quite kind. He told me he will give me a seed capital for 6 months. This is sort of like, they call it family, friends, and fools. They always give you money. And it happens in America too. You usually have to convince family, friends, or somebody to give you a seed capital. And he told me, Saeed, I wanted to do like import-export business. And at that time, I thought I'm gonna do it with Middle East, with Saudi Arabia. So he actually gave me $3,000 budget per month for 6 months. And then I had to go buy a telex machine. At that time, there was no fax or no internet. And I used to send out 100 letters a day and about 10 telexes a day. Wow. And if I get a reply, and the first reply was, Saeed, you don't know what you're talking about. I was so happy I got a reply for one of my outreach. But after 6 months, he kind of said, Saeed, you haven't made any money, go get a job. And my brother, how many of you know Rahim, my brother? So Rahim at that time had a little business in Pennsylvania. And he said, Saeed, I will fund you another 6 months. And within 1 or 2 months, I exported some material to Saudi Arabia and to El Salvador. And the company that I founded in 1979, it's called American Liquid Packaging. And we do raw material products. We represent ExxonMobil in about 5 countries. And we do bottled water projects. Mm-hmm. So we, like Black Mountain, do you remember showing Black Mountain? So I built 120 bottled water factories around the world. Wow. As a turnkey project. And then I saw the bottle factories that I built become much richer than me. So then I built 10 of them on a joint venture. And like the biggest one we have now is in Spain. It was initially a joint venture with Heineken, but then we purchased Heineken shares. And the bottled water company in Spain, it's called Viva Aqua Service, and it has 600 people, 5 springs. And in our category, which is the 5-gallon bottle, we have 45% market share, wow, with 25% growth per year. Wow. It is the best run company I have ever seen, because I don't run it. But I helped to start it. But there is a guy called Alberto Gutierrez, who is my partner, that I actually hired from Santa Clara University. He's been running it for 20 years. So the most important thing why I bring the bottled water business in Europe was huge, but the 5-gallon category was illegal. Between Evian and Perrier, they said 2 liter or more you cannot sell. But as European Union was coming together, and in England they had 5-gallon bottled water, they couldn't control it anymore. So it was suddenly an opportunity to take different category, different size of the water to Europe. So at that time, I had a very big sort of ambition. I said, I want to open 50 factories in 5 years. So I opened one in Norway, France, Italy, Spain, Austria, and after 10 of them, I ran out of money and ran out of time. So I said, let's get a timeout till hopefully these ones become profitable or at least break even. Then I go open up more. But I realized even the 10 was too much. Our attention was not focused on the best ones, which was in Austria and Spain. So we sold a bunch of them and focused on the best one. And why I'm saying this is because when you're a startup, you have to focus on some problem, some opportunity that you want to solve. And you have to become the best in the world in that opportunity. You have to read all of the papers. You have to know all of the competition. Because if you go to raise money from an angel or from a venture capital person, and he knows a little bit more than what you do about your business, he's not going to fund you. So my recommendation is, if you would like to get funding, you have to know the problem you're solving and the people that are willing to pay for the solution. Then you have to at least find another 10 startups that have gone through the same journey as you, and make sure you go meet the CEO, find out how he raised money, what was his challenges. And some entrepreneurs says, how can I meet the CEO? If you cannot meet the CEO, you're not going to be a successful entrepreneur. You have to find out where he hangs out. You have to find out where he's speaking and go there and cold call him, push him till you meet him. And again, and this is a hard way when I say directly, but you have to find somebody who knows him and get an appointment. So I want to tell you, come back after the bottled water business and real estate business. Quite frankly, we felt quite left out of the technology world. This was about 20 years ago. And we own a little building in Palo Alto called 165 University Avenue. And when I started my business, Alps, Pierluigi Zappacosta started Logitech. Logitech was initially in Geneva. He's a Swiss-Italian guy. He brought Logitech to Palo Alto. In front of me, he raised angel money. Then he raised VC money. Then he took the company public. And I could see the success story right in front of my eyes. Then we purchased that building after 3-4 years, making little money in import-export business. And one of our first tenants was PayPal. And as PayPal, Peter Thiel was negotiating the lease with Rahim negotiated that they should pay 2 years rent in advance because they don't have a profit. So Peter said, I have a lot of money in the bank. But Rahim said, no, you don't have any cash flow, you don't have any profit. So he said, okay, I paid 2 years rent in advance. And Rahim took half of the rent and invested in PayPal. Until today, it has been one of our best investments. Then sort of like Google came to the building when there were 3 people. And after about 3 months, 4 months, Omid Kordestani joined Google. And in that little building, they grew to 50 people. And while we were in Palo Alto and feeling left out from the technology world, we just said, okay, let's get involved. And we would meet startups, usually in Medallion Rug or in my office, and we would look at 3-4 startups a month. And the ones that we thought the entrepreneurs are passionate, they are smart, they are from Sharif University and they can code really well, we would put in $50,000 or $100,000. And they call this angel investing. Somebody asked me, where can I find angels in the Bay Area? There is about 20 angel groups. We have one at Plug and Play, but there is Band of Angels, Sandhill Angels, there is angel groups for medical products, there is angel group for Internet of Things. So if you go to their events like this, in each event you can meet 20 to 30 angels and see how the process works. Usually like Band of Angel meets in Palo Alto Hills Country Club once a month, and they feature 3 startups each month before dinner, and out of the 50 people, 5 of them may be interested to write $100,000 check. In fact, Pierluigi Zappacasta of Logitech belongs to Band of Angels, and he got me involved in it, and that's partially how I learned how to do investments in the angel category. But the whole idea of this startup world is, at least for us, for Plug and Play, is the team you can put together, how passionate they are, how resilient they are, because the first 2 years of a startup is incredibly hard. Like if I compare it to my own time in 1979, I used to run out of money every month. So let me tell you a funny story. The owner of the building, 165, was Mr. Puppin, and after we made some money and we bought a little building in Palo Alto, I made Mr. Puppin promise that if he wants to sell the building, he has to sell it to me, because I thought it's a great, lucky building. So one Friday he calls me and he said, Saeed, I promised you I'm gonna call you. I'm selling the building Monday. I said, thank you so much for the notice, but nevertheless, I knew exactly where he lived because I had delivered check to him and I was late on rent. So I said to Mr. Puppin, wait at home, I'm gonna come and see you. So I went to his house. He said, Saeed, I'm selling this building for $1 million. I said, great, I want to buy it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He said, no, Saeed, for you it's 1.2 million. I said, why? He said, do you remember how much late you were on your rent? He said, this guy is a credited buyer. I don't know if you're gonna close or not close, so for you it's 1.2 million. Then I said, I kind of knew the market. I said, great, Mr. Puppin, I take 1.2. Is one of the only buy and sell agreements that I sat in his kitchen table and typed. So I typed, Mr. Puppin wants to sell, I want to buy, it's $1.2 million with 2 signatures. He said, no, Saeed, keep typing. I want you to pay me $50,000 today, Friday. I want to next Friday for you to pay me another $50,000. The next Friday, another $50,000, up to $200,000 non-returnable. Then you can have time to get your loans and buy the building. And I really was shaking when I typed because I only had $50,000. So I typed it. I went back to the office, brought him his first $50,000. Then I had to find the next Friday's 50,000, so I went to my dad. Amir Agha, khahish mikonam, this is a good building. You really need it. And he also came and walked around the building and everything. And he said, okay, I'm gonna give you the next $50,000, but that's it. I'm not gonna give you the other 2. So within 1 week, we found a partner, John Nicholson, with his father. They came and they brought in the other $100,000, and we became 50-50 partner in that building, and we closed after like 90 days. And within 2 to 3 years, John Nicholson and his family wanted to sell their shares, so we actually gave them like $500,000 profit on their money, because the building was worth it. But I'm just kind of saying that as an example, that if you don't go after it, if you don't risk, because when I gave the $50,000, I didn't have the second 50. And even my father gave me the second 50. Honestly, I don't think at that time, even if he wanted to give it to me, I didn't know how was his situation, if he could give it or not. But we really believed in that this building was a good opportunity, and it really launched our investment scenario. And to give you a little history, I don't know how many of you know Pejman Nozad. Great, great guy. Pejman joined Medallion Rug, and at that time he didn't speak English very well. Then slowly he became the manager of Medallion Rug. Then he used to translate the technology news for my father for 30 minutes every day. And then he kind of said, my father always wanted to do little technology investing. So with Pejman, Rahim, and myself, we started doing this $50,000, $100,000 investments. And altogether we invested in 65 companies together. And some of them were incredible. How many of you use SoundHound? So one of them is SoundHound. How many use Dropbox? So Dropbox is one of them. Lending Club is another one. And the whole idea is, I also believe in life that you have to be lucky. And we went forward with doing these investments, but also we were quite lucky. And we couldn't judge the technology because I'm a businessman, Pejman is a businessman, and we really didn't even know technology investing. So we used to go to our VC friends, like, I don't know if you guys know Sequoia. Doug Leone is one of the best VCs in the world. He's the managing director of Sequoia. And I consider Sequoia the top 3 VCs. So actually, we had sold rugs to Doug, so he knew us. So when we saw a startup, we would take it to Doug. If Doug liked it, we would invest in it. And then 6 months later, Sequoia would invest in it. And to give you again a little sort of, I like this antidote stories. So we saw Dropbox, Arash and Drew at Y Combinator, which is sort of like a best accelerator in the world. I think they invented this acceleration business. But if you don't act fast, if you don't know Doug Leone or people of Sequoia, you cannot get the next step done. So I really recommend to everybody here, especially the young people who want to do technology company, you have to go to 2 events a week. These are meetups, we call them expos or demo day. Usually 90% of them are free, and you can go there as an observer. If you want to pitch, there is some qualification and you have to go through some sort of hurdles, but you learn a lot how to pitch. What is a good idea? What is a bad idea? And again, we live in the best place on earth to do a startup. So let me tell you a little bit now about plug and play. Hi, Pejman, back there. So imagine we invested for 10 years in 65 startups through Amidzad, and it was really great results. So then I started thinking, if we want to scale this, if we need a bigger building and more startups in it. And I looked for a building for 2 years because I wanted to buy it incredibly at a low price. So if everything fails, the building would make money. So we bought the old Philips semiconductor headquarters 2 weeks before they were going to tear it down. And again, I had to go meet the CEO of Philips. And he said, why do you want to meet me? We have a real estate agent, you should go buy it. He didn't know that I needed his help to finance the building. So I went and meet him, and I met the CFO, and I said, okay, I'm going to buy the building, but you cannot finance an empty building. It is really hard unless you have a lot of cash. So I told them, look, I'm going to give the deposit, but I need you to work with me till we sort of get the building semi-stable before I can finance it. And it was not easy because these guys are European from Holland, and they are not very friendly. So to break the tradition and being friends, and for them to do something out of the ordinary was not easy. But to tell you a little update on Plug and Play, some of you talk about, we have an area that is called Startup Camp, and we do 50 investments per year through Startup Camp from MIT, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, Cornell. So we go to the schools, to the business plan competition. Usually we choose one or two at the top business plan competition winners. We usually give them $25,000 to $50,000. They come to California for 3 months in the summer. I also should say we usually take 5% of the company. If the company is just 2 people and an idea, we give them $25,000. If it's a little bit more established, they have a prototype and something, we may give them $50,000. But during those 3 months they are here, we introduce them to 150 investors and 50 customers. And we call that acceleration. And this startup camp, every Tuesday and Thursday, I saw that third floor, you had a mentoring session. So every Tuesday and Thursday for the startup camp people, we have a mentoring session with usually 3 CEOs of startups that have raised money and had exits, or 3 venture capitals that they see what are they looking for in a startup. So in these 3 months, they get a crash course in how to raise money, meet investors, and quite frankly, a lot of them fail and pack their bag and go home. But over 70% of them raise money and they are off to the races with their startup. So I would say that is one of our oldest activities, our startup camp. Then we now recently for 2 years have started a couple of different divisions. One of them is financial technology and security. And we have Santander, Citibank, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, Mitsubishi Bank, Sumitomo Bank coming to us, telling us what do they need in technology for banking. It's usually for digital transformation, for customer relationship management. So we tell our startups, we are not looking for only the technology. Citibank is looking for the technology. Deutsche Bank is looking for the technology. So when the startups apply to us, they either have a security product or a fintech analytic products. The day we choose the startups, we usually have 20 banks there and 10 VCs helping us choose the startup that we allow into the program. So again, if you can say, Saeed, do you know financial banking? I don't, but I just know how to get the banks to come to Plug and Play, how to get the VCs to come to Plug and Play, and then they help me do due diligence and choose the best 20 startup in banking that we will invest in side by side with our VC friends and our banking friends. So we call this vertical accelerator. So we have it in different categories. We have it in banking, we have it in brand and retail. We have a very big one, it's called IoT, Internet of Things. We do that with Mercedes, Caterpillar, Bosch, Ford, GM, because connected cars, they say, is going to be the future. Like you're going to have a self-driving car, so your inside of your car is going to be the entertainment. It's going to be sort of like your family room or your living room, but it has to be super connected. So when we choose our IoT startups, we usually have again 10 VCs in the room and about 40 corporate partners in the room. And the good thing about the corporate partners is when they choose a startup, that means they're going to do a pilot with them. They're going to, usually like for example, Volkswagen gives the startup $400,000 engineering fee without any strings attached to do a pilot with them, if they like the technology. So there was two ladies, two PhDs, that they came to Volkswagen and they said, we're going to do sound bites, news for Saeed as he's driving. So they find out that Saeed likes golf, likes technology, likes international business. So they search the news and give me like 1 minute, 2 minute news bites made for Saeed on my radio while going to work. And if I like one of the news, I say, tell me more. And instead of 2 minutes, it tells you 20 minutes. So this Volkswagen loved these two ladies, gave them $400,000 to tweak their technology for Volkswagen. So the reason why we love corporate partners is because they help the startup, they license the technology, they buy product. Like the banks, there is a company called Revolution Credit. Actually, he's an Arabic founder. He tells Capital One or Citibank, when you graduate from college, you usually get a credit card with $1,000 limit. It's almost like automatic. It comes. So Revolution Credit uses the same thing as when you get a ticket, you go to the traffic school. It gives you 3 minutes videos for you to become a better finance manager. So when you have a Capital One card with $1,000 limit, Capital One with Revolution Credit says, Saeed, do you want to increase your credit to 2,000? And if you're 20 years old, you say yes. And then they serve you 3 minutes videos over the next 3 months, and it makes you a better manager of your money. And automatically, Capital One actually wants to increase your credit, so they increase it to $2,000. And Revolution Credit per customer charges Capital One $5 a year. Capital One has 45 million cardholders. 8 million of them are in the category that would use Revolution Credit. So if they succeed, Revolution Credit can earn $20-30 million only from one bank.
Wow.
And it is, again, it's not an incredible technology. It's video, it's classes, it's education about being finance, but the business model of this guy is incredible. So a lot of times, the technology is very important, but how you monetize it and what is the business model is, I think, is more important than the core technology. There is some people like Larry and Sergey, they say, let's build the technology, the business will come automatically, but I think they were lucky that they found Omid. Because he built the business model, he executed it, and till today he's one of the only people that took a company from 0 revenue to 10 billion revenue in the shortest time in history. But so I'm not saying the technology was not there. They actually had a great search. But at that time, Akamai had a great search, Alta Vista had a great search, Yahoo had okay search, but Yahoo didn't have the same business model that Google had. So I don't know how are we doing on time. So I'd love to answer some question, but to kind of summarize for you what is our passion today. Our passion, and we travel the world. I go to Berlin 4 times a year. We do 30 startups per year in Berlin. We do, as I mentioned to you, more than 150 here. Our passion is to find a couple of entrepreneurs who want to dream big, who want to execute, and we make a positive step in their journey. And a positive step means we help them raise money, we help them get customer and increase value. You know, since I told you a lot of good stories, so let me tell you a bad story. So Airbnb, how many of you have traveled with Airbnb? It is the largest hotel chain in the world right now. Their biggest day in their history was in May. In one night, they had 1 million rooms. rented. On average day, they do something between 350 to 500,000 rooms. But their biggest day in history was in May, 1 million. So the three founders came to Plug and Play, and they said, Saeed, we're going to rent rooms, people have extra rooms, and we want to do this. And they even had a little prototype, but it wasn't, say, how many rooms? Somebody told me about the bakery. I said, how many rooms have you rented on the platform? He said, they said to me, Saeed, 25. I said, cool, come back when it's 250. No, I'm joking. But we really liked the company. So at that time, that summer, I was doing co-investing with a gentleman called Tim Draper from Draper Fisher Venture Arm. So we had agreed to do 10 angel investing together, $400,000 each. Tim would put in 300, I would put in 100. And number 7 startup was Airbnb. We agreed to put in $400,000 at $2 million valuation. We call it 2 million pre, 2.4 million post. It was in documentation. Let's say if you say, I'm going to invest in your company, then usually the VC or the angel gives a term sheet to the entrepreneurs that I'm going to do $400,000 at 2 million, and then when the angel the entrepreneur signs the term sheet, you may have another week or 2 weeks to do more due diligence, do a little bit of on their idea or the team or everything. So Tim Draper, halfway through the due diligence, said, Saeed, if somebody gets raped in one of these rooms and they sue Airbnb, the company cannot survive and it will close. So he chickened out, and I chickened out, because at that time we were doing like the angel investing with him. The $100,000 would have been 200 million today. Wow. So, and reality is, I have missed a lot of these opportunities. We had an opportunity to invest in Facebook at $100 million valuation. And again, even Mark Zuckerberg announced Amidzad and this VC are doing this round. And we were he allocated to us $50,000, which was okay. But then he was going to rent 165, and we kind of totally forgot about it. And whoever was our colleagues that does the leasing told Mark Zuckerberg, these guys don't do 5-year leases. They do month to month or 1 year. And he said, okay, then I pull them out of this round of investing. And he pulled us out. That $50,000 would have been 50 million. So, it is sort of opportunity lost, but all of these you kind of learn, and hopefully you have enough lucky ones to make success. But just to tell you, because this is supposed to be funding matter, you have to find people who understand your business, if it is fintech, if it's security, if it's distribution and retail, like the people who have found something similar would be interested in your company. And it is your job to research what are similar businesses to your company, who funded them as an angel, and who funded them as a VC. And again, if you can get one of those startups to be your mentor and to help you think through the process, you'll be much, much more successful. But I just want to close with this, that I love entrepreneurs that dream big. It's totally okay to fail. As long as you give it your best shot, you develop the best team, and you work 80 hours a week.